Hello and welcome to episode 40 of the HamCorp training manual. In this episode, we set up the Abyssal isolation chamber, granting us access to the true abyss. We then craft the Draco tier of wafers and the full Abyssal circuit line. This puts us on the path to the Draconic Stargate. Let's get right to business with the Abyssal isolation chamber. This needs some Abyssal inductors, which needs some UIV type materials. Also needs a blacklight scan, an Abyssal inductor hull scan, which itself needs an Abyssal inductor scan. Making this needs a little bit of dragon breath as well. And for the structure, it's actually not too bad. Probably the worst part of it will be the Abyssal inductor hulls, but this is a pretty big, clean room-esque multi. I do need to also supply end air and dragon breath, so I'll have to think about that. But first, I'm gonna get to crafting. I've also been going around the base doing a little bit of infra expansion. It's pretty good. So, more fusion reactors, more solidifiers, and I use these pretty much only for void ingots. Everything else gets done in a single solidifier back in the autocrafting building. I also made more Ox 1s, I don't know if I showed that. So all of the Mark 3s are they're gone now. And yeah, I think that's everything. Yeah, I was right. The inductor hulls were definitely the worst part. But we have it. This is a 17 by 17 multi, and I kind of don't think there's a point in having clean rooms anymore, or at least these regular clean rooms, because I can make sterile hatches and stuff. So I think I'm gonna tear this down and migrate all the recipes into machines that are equipped with sterile hatches or clean room hatches, and I'll replace it with Abyssal isolation chambers. Now, what to do with Soy Cake 456? Now the Abyssal isolation chamber has been completed. Soy Cake is working very hard inside. And in preparation for what I'm gonna do in there, I made some more machines. Specifically, I made 7 more Draconic infusion arrays. These are all parallelized with the classic multiple patterns method. So basically, each one of them gets a pattern provider, and every single one of them has all of these patterns in it. So if I do enough requests, it just kind of round robins the materials into each of the thingies. But it does mean encoding the same pattern multiple times, which just feels dirty, but it's done. I didn't want to deal with the item and fluid P2P weirdness anymore, so I decided to just do this. These were a nightmare to set up because they're all basically assembly line setups, right? And I needed to go and configure every single storage bus. It was not fun, but it's done. Now the reason I needed them. I need to make dragon eggs, which in turn need draconic stem cells. There is kind of a nice draconic stem cell recipe here, but it needs a little bit of investment with draconic enrichment serum, which is what I want to try and set up right now. So this is on page 5 of processing lines. There are a couple of very important materials that now have cheaper recipes. There's cheaper draconic scale cells. This is the recipe I currently use. This forge hammer recipe is fake because I can't get dragon scales. At least I think I can't. And this macerator recipe is the good recipe. It comes from dragon egg shards, which come from cutting dragon eggs. I can also get cheaper dragon breath, which is really nice, because this recipe really sucks. This one doesn't seem very good to me. I think it is a profit, but I don't think it's, I don't know, maybe it is good? I don't know, I'm not sure. This is what I think the good recipe is. Needs radon, draconialium, and breath hormone complex. We'll come back to the breath hormone complex because it's pretty complex. 2 more improved recipes. Draconic stem cells. I just mentioned this, there's this recipe. Needs the enrichment serum. And finally, draconic brain matter cells. Same thing. There's an ordered chemistry synthesis recipe. This is the one I currently use. Needs a whole LUV emitter and a bunch of other stuff here. Runic convergence circuit boards. Kinda crazy compared to this recipe, which looks dirt cheap. Except, I don't know how expensive draconic enrichment serum is, so we'll find out. This also, by the way, gets me pure dragon breath, which I think is kind of the main point here. Or I guess the new thing that's unlocked here, because it needs breath hormone complex. But to make this breath hormone complex and this enrichment serum and everything, there's quite a bit of stuff that goes into it. So, hematite, glowstone, rhenium, enriched knack, activated nether dust, echo fluid, nether tempered liquid basalt, blitz, blizz, and blaze buckets, tiny piles of mithril adamantine and iron 3 chloride, small piles of aurorium, raw growth medium, biostimulating mixture, and of course the dragon eggs. These have to be made like this. Anyway, the shards here are trivial to get, it's just cutting the dragon egg. But I also get this draconic embryo. This can be autoclaved, along with some nether star concentrate to make secreting draconic cells and draconic stem cells. This is a partial refund, this isn't a source of draconic stem cells. And these secreting draconic cells are kind of the source of everything, because I can extract them into draconic hormone residue, chem react this with biostim and raw growth medium into it says endocritic, but it should be endocritic, drac endocritic medium. This can be bathed with aurorium to make drac-auroric endocrinal medium. That's combined with precursor serum, which is made with adamantine mithril and iron 3 chloride, to make abyssal nutrient blend. This has 2 uses. One is this one, which needs drac peptide amino chains, and the other use is to make drac peptide amino chains. So the abyssal nutrient blend gets distilled into condensed abyssal nutrient blend, which is mixed with collagen to make amino primed medium, which is autoclaved with gelatin to make drac peptide amino chains. These have a couple of different uses. The echo fluid and nether tempered and all of that can be used to make a bunch of different enzymes, I guess. There's terathoxin, voidrenin, stormcolin, cryokinase, and ignispherin. So they're kind of just themed, kind of cool. But the other use is the drac peptide amino residue. This can be autoclaved to make a bunch of other enzymes. There's hemovirin, pyrothioin, metavorexin, ethermetin, and dracotropin. These ones are injection mixed to make growth hormone complex, which can be turned into draconic enrichment serum, which is what I needed to make the better stem cells and the brain matter. I also need it for abyssal processing units, which is kind of one of the 2 main points here. The terathoxin, voidrenin, and all of that other stuff can be injection mixed into breath hormone complex, and this makes dragon breath. And it also makes pure dragon breath, which is used for a bunch of stuff. So, quick little dragon biology lesson, I guess, but it's time to set all of that up. And everything that you just saw that said requires true abyss has to go inside this. And based on what I saw, I think I need more than one. Also, I'm gonna pattern everything. There's no like probability outputs or anything, so I kinda just want to pattern everything. Man, nothing like needing single block spam to completely kill the vibe. I was having so much fun with this. There is one distillation step here, and the large fractionating distillery has a muffler, so it can't go inside. What, like, why? What? Man, whatever, bro. Well, I made 8 UHV distilleries. This better be enough. Yeah, no, this sucks. I'm making these UIV. Disgusting. I'm gonna use pipes here just to drill home how disgusted I am. That's right, pipes and UIV. I'm doing this for the round robin. Currently crafting up the Draconic Enrichment Serum and the Pure Dragon Breath. This means I'll be able to do the cheaper stem cells and brain cells recipes in the advanced synthesis plant. And, fun fact, it has to be an advanced synthesis plant and not a true synthesis array, because this thing is too big. It's not gonna fit. And as far as I can tell, there's no like abyssal maintenance hatch, so if I can't put it inside, I cannot do it. So I have to use the bad synthesis plants. I don't have a choice. And I don't think it's really gonna fit in there. Well, maybe 2 of them. It's gonna be tight. I guess I'll try. But if it doesn't fit, I'm just gonna have to make another one of these. At least I can wall share this. Just kidding. I can only wall share the frame. Damn. This is probably my biggest criticism of the pack, is that it's very anti-wall share. Wall sharing's so fun and satisfying. It's not even about saving the materials, it's just about solving the puzzle of wall sharing it. And that's just not a thing in this pack, mostly. This one was nice. Anyway, while I'm doing this stuff, I can actually start making Komaru filaments. So I can make the stabilization mixture base with a bunch of stuff that I have in a true abyss mixer. And then I can injection mix this into infernal stabilization mixture and abyssal stabilization mixture. And this can be done outside. So I can do that in my machine spam area. And then pressure heat it into Draconic stabilization serum. And then this stuff has a bunch of uses, but the quest wants me to make tier 1 Komaru filaments, which needs tiny piles of Acrariatic Runixium dust and Draconic stabilization serum. Should be pretty easy to do, actually. Once those are done, I can continue on to abyssal circuits. And that completes just about everything I can for now on page 5 of processing lines. Pretty cool. Now there are 2 routes I can go. I can work on getting better circuits, and I can work on getting better wafers. I think I'll start with the wafers. So first of all, I need to make UI pick wafers. Only way to make these, Draconic infusion. Pretty slow too, 3 minutes at UV. Doesn't look too expensive, looks pretty chill. The pure dragon breath is probably the worst part. I can cut this in a sterile clean room to make UI pick chips, and these have a bunch of uses. The next level of absolute parallel hatch, Aux2, boosted Draconic infusion array, multi-threaded component assembler, and some item. Also used for making DSG computational matrices. So here is the first item. Well, I guess the second item, because I can make these. And these. And these. Okay, it's not special, but DSG component has just popped up. Pretty cool. I can also make Draco-doped neutronium silicate bowls, 300-second craft, infusion, bunch of pure dragon breath, neutronium silicon carbide, neutronium silicon, and Draconic cells. Those can be cut into 2 stacks of Draco-doped wafers, which can be cut again into Draco-doped chips, or engraved into a bunch of different wafer types. And I'm pretty sure this is the best wafer in the game. Looks like these Draco-doped chips don't have a use though. They kind of just have recipes but no use. Probably automatically generated. One of the things I can engrave this into are Draconic ASOC wafers, using an Echo Shard lens. These need to be scanned to make Draconic processors. But wait, you might wonder, I've already made Draconic processors using Draconic microchip processors. And that's true. But that one was with the data module, this one is with the data DNA disk. And the difference is it's an upgraded recipe for making Draconic processors. This is the old one. It's a little nested because I have to make the QMDs, I also have to make the microchip processors, and then here's the new one, which doesn't need all that. So this should be quite a bit faster. I also get twice as many Draconic processors, so that's pretty nice. After that, I get some kind of niche items, which I'll probably look at later. Alright, and now for the Abyssal circuits. First of all, Abyssal circuit boards. True Abyss recipe. Oh boy, where am I going to fit a circuit assembler in here? Maybe right here. This is a mess. Beautiful. Anyway, they get converted into Abyssal printed circuit boards. Sterile clean room, luckily. Needs polonium bismide, which I'm seeing a lot of. With the printed circuit boards, I can make component data cores, which are the next tier of data module and the final tier. This also needs stellar RAM, which I think I can make actually pretty easily. Yeah, QRAM, Borealic, Void Dust. It's a true Abyss recipe, but I already have an ECR in there, so this is pretty chill. Stellar RAM also going to be required for this. I can turn the Abyssal printed circuit board into Abyssal processing units. This needs stuff we've seen before, true Abyss recipe, along with hypervoidic graviton aberration steel bolt. What is aberration? Maybe that's aberration? Anyway, this is a Hellforge recipe, which needs primordial shadow worms, so it's kind of high up in the tiers. Oof. I can scan this to make an Abyssal processor scan, and then I can make Abyssal processors. Abyssal processors can be scanned to make Abyssal processor assemblies. These need stellar RAM. These can be scanned for Abyssal processor supercomputers, which can be scanned to make Abyssal processor mainframes, the final circuit in the game. And once I have that, I can make the aux2, another big boy. I think this is a different shape than the aux1. Doesn't look that fun to build though, but this is gonna unlock Rifteon Plasma, made from neutronium and Rifteon extract, which I'm sure I'm gonna have to make soon. Once I'm at the Abyssal processor mainframe, we will regroup and see what to do next, because I could either do an aux2 or I could progress a little bit more this way and get threading, which is probably a good idea. And then I also need to figure out what all this stuff is. And then, the final page of Star Technology. The first quest has been unlocked. I also quickly crafted up the Hyper Parallel Control Hatch, 4,000 parallels, and the Hyper Absolute Parallel Mastery Hatch, which brings me to these weird items. So the Prismatic Helix Core needs an Ultra Purpur Infusion Casing scan, and needs basically 32 of each of the different superconductors, the custom superconductors, in fine wire form, along with a bunch of other bullshit. And this is kind of just an intermediate item. It's scanned to get the Prisma Helical Nucleus, and it's used in making a couple of different things. This Prisma Helical Nucleus is one of those things. This also needs Soul Ascendant Cuperite, which is just another alloy. I looked at it, it's nothing special. And these Prisma Helical Nuclei are used for all the threading multis. Scan for the threading controller, and the threading controller is kind of the utility hatch that goes on these multis. Now, threading seems pretty interesting, but I think I'm not going to actually get to it today. I think what I'm going to do today is I'm going to unlock it and probably start working towards the multi-threaded component synthesis forge and aux2, but I don't think I'm going to finish those two things today. But yeah. Anyway, I'm going to make this little bug, going to make this little nucleus, going to make this controller, and that should be that until next time. Thank you for watching this episode of the HamCorp Training Manual. In the next episode, we will look into threading and refactor the base to use better multi-blocks everywhere. See you next time.